Hi guys, today we're going to be doing Sweetheart. We're going to be looking at why I think she's underrated, why I think that so many of you have been asking for this guide. So honestly, she's really great and I'm so glad to hear that you also appreciate her. We're going to look at how you can best use her, some fun teams, and also how to get the most out of your Sweetheart, because I think she's underrated and I think if you haven't enjoyed her yet, you're going to find a way to enjoy her, hopefully in this video. She is a beast reality damage dealer, by the way, so we're looking for damage from her. First one, Slight Breeze. It's a mass attack. It deals a decent amount of reality damage to two enemies, and if the target is in stats down, neg stat, or control statuses, this will deal X amount more damage. Basically deals damage, and this is really helpful that it actually has stats down on neg stats. We're gonna find out that she's the queen of neg stats, okay? Next, the single target attack. Dud. It's a single target damage. It does damage, does a decent amount of damage. At Incantation 3 and P5, it's 550% damage. That is a great thing. That's a Bacorn Bloom ult, guys. That's why she does damage. Now, looking at her ultimate, A Good Dream Tonight. It's a single target damage, single target attack that deals quite a good amount of reality damage, and also it reduces the target's reality defense and mental defense by 30% for 3 rounds, and will inflict daze, which basically means cannot act. So this means that Sweetheart is going to basically get her ult, reduce their defense, not just for reality, but also for mental, which means she's diverse. She can go everywhere. Diverse? What does that mean? What am I trying to say? Flexible. She goes everywhere. She does everything. She's the woman of the hour. And then she's going to debuff them, and then she's going to make herself stronger when she attacks again. It's excellent. But wait a second, I'm hearing neg stats. Does she need neg stats? This is so dumb. Of course. She has them. In Insight 1, when the caster is attacked, inflicts the attacker with 1 stack of Enchanted for 2 rounds. And now, Enchanted, we'll find out what that is. And if the attacker is of the opposite gender, will inflict, I'm keeping that, will inflict 1 stack of Enchanted for 2 rounds. So, to be honest, this gender thing doesn't work. If the person's of the opposite gender, they are attracted to her, because every other gender apparently and thing on the binary or non-binary and everything else doesn't exist. We're not going to get there, that's political. But basically, because there are monsters in the game and machines, the game has no way to even be like, this machine, man, he like her. So don't really focus on this element of her kit, but what is important is the enchanted part of her kit. She wants them to get enchanted. Now, this is when she is attacked with Insight 1. Insight 2, crit rate plus 10, great, we love that, we love crit. Insight 3, this is the good one. You want her to be at I3, because when the caster attacked, so when she attacks, she will inflict enchanted on the target. So regardless of their gender, she's going to make them enchanted by her attack. So you're going to be wanting her to attack once first and then again immediately afterwards, because you want to have the stack of, you want the neg stat on there before you do the big damage, right? Now, of course, now what is Enchanted? Enchanted is a negative stat. It is damage dealt minus 10% to Sweetheart, and it can stack. So of course, you can keep stacking it up. I mean, the most I've ever really seen is 30% damage dealt reduction to Sweetheart. It's a good little bit of like buffering of her attack, but the main primary focus of this is it gives you the neg stats. It gives you the neg stat so that you get the 50% damage bonus here with this incantation, and also with her Psychube. Spoilers, it's Blasphemer of the Night. Let's look at it. Basically, your best option for Sweetheart is Blasphemer of the Night. Blasphemer of the Night is an amazing Psychube. It gives an incantation bonus of 18%, and then also when the carrier attacks, if the target has 2 or more neg statuses, damage dealt plus 24%. That's it. level 5 because I'm a psychopath who level 5'd their Psychube. This is her best one, honestly. She is one of the only characters in the game that can reliably use this without the need of having someone else in the team to help proc it. You can force the Blasphemer of the Night. I've got a video on that with Sotheby for other DPS characters, but it's not reliable. This is so reliable on Sweetheart, and that's why I so highly recommend this. If you're a Sweetheart main, use this. However, admittedly, me saying that, it's really only good for her. If you don't want to invest just into this for her, you could also use Luxurious Leisure. Luxurious Leisure is also an excellent Psychube. It's incredibly diverse. You could use it across multiple characters. Pickles wants it, Tennant wants it, many single target DP, Calaborna wants it, yeah? So this is an excellent substitute for her. It's got her face on it. It gives a buff to ultimate might, and also after the user, after she uses her ultimate, a single target attack, damage dealt increases by 9%. It can stack 3 times, so if it's a long fight, you're looking at a 27% damage buff to her overall, even versus Blasphemer, that's a flat 24%. But again, Lux is immediate. Lux is like over time, you know, after you need 3 ults to get that 27%. Blasphemer is instant every attack, but again, more niche. And you know what? If you don't have Blasphemer or you don't have Lux, you know what I'm going to say? Brave New World. It's free. You could get it hopefully very easily early on in the game. It gives you ultimate might damage plus blah 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 bonus, which is great for her, and then also makes her next incantation do more damage. Basically, it's just more damage for her. It's a good generalistic Psychube that everyone should have floating around. These are the 2 I would probably most likely recommend for you. Okay. Now, looking at her portraits. Basically, let's see, her P1 is really good. It makes her ultimate damage reduction, the def reduction stronger, and also do more damage. If you can, P1, super recommended. Then we're getting to basically just 2 as doing more damage to her incantation, 3 a higher damage percentage to the buff of the incantation, and P4 and 5 is just making her ults deal nuclear levels of damage, which is really good. Of course, not a multiplier, quite like Bicorn Bloom's P5, but that's fine. She's got more damage in the rest of her kit. Now, as she is a DPS character, I would strongly recommend Sweetheart to get to Resonant 10. I run her on like a hybrid crit build, where she's got crit, she's also got attack. It's quite a lot of fun. Have fun playing around with it. I feel like, again, benchmark. When you get a character to R10, then you can get them into, then you can try like looking around with crit. And if you're a support character, by the way, R8, you're fine. DPS, get to 10 if you can, especially if they're the main DPS for that element. She's not my main DPS. You know what? She is, honestly. She's a 5-star and she's my main DPS for Beast because I really enjoy her. Also, excuse this, I have hurt my neck and my back. And that's why. Bandages, it's a lot of a whole thing. Let's get into teams. You're going to notice some wonderful synergies between Sweetheart and my Queens, Tennant, and Desert Funnel, and a couple of different little options thrown in there. Let's get into teams. Okay, so for the first team we're going to be looking at today for Sweetheart is probably my favorite team. Now, please take note, all of these have been done in the current 1.6 patch, which basically I wanted to show 4-man teams, and then you can kind of scale it down to 3. So treat the 4th character in this as kind of the flex slot, where you can use them in a 4-man team or have them as the substitute, but treat the 3 characters on the left as like the main characters for the team. So in terms of this one, now that the disclosure's out of the way, this is probably my favorite team. I love it. It's mono beast. It's incredibly strong because Sweetheart's there, like doing her thing, dealing lots of damage. Tennant is there as the extra reality defense reduction for the entire team. Plus, we've also got Desert Flannel there, who's an excellent healer, and then also the more beast, the more better she is. That's awful English. The more beast characters, the stronger that Desert Flannel's like basically is. She gives each beast character like damage bonuses, and then also she can basically enter the match with her ult ready to go, as you saw, depending on more beast characters. And Leilani is there as an ult rush character. She does good damage, and she will also like help like with her ult moxie gain to your whole teammates. So basically it's going to be helping your team to cycle through. Tenant having the shield to kind of cover any squishy 3 stars. Now moving into the next team, this is kind of a mental focused version of this. So we've got Shimane, who is an excellent like support for Sweetheart in general, but Shimane is there with Decay. Now, the reason behind this is essentially that Shimane's debuff works for reality and for mental damage dealers. So this kind of opens up the world for Decay to come into it and also do damage and not just heal. So if you want to run Mono Beast, this is another great option, especially if you have Shimane sitting around thinking, what do we do with him? And of course, Sweetheart's there doing the damage. Thanks to the way that her kit works, she's actually able to use Blasphema of the Night by herself in most of these teams quite reliably, as long as you're making sure to stack the debuffs, or stack the neg stats rather, onto the enemy first. Now we have Dali Clatter. Shout out for Dali Clatter. Here as well, he's the 4th slot in this because again, Moxie gain, but also 35% damage buff with his ultimate. So he's a great character in teams like this. The only suggestion I would say with this is that this team is a little bit squishy because DK's healing is not the greatest. Alternatively, if you're running into sustain issues, you could put Shimane onto the healing Psychube with his mass ult. That's not preferable, but honestly, I've run this team in hard content and it runs really well. And it really gives Sweetheart a great chance to shine. Now, this is kind of a bit of an interesting one. This is because this is kind of running Sweetheart with Sotheby, who is an excellent healer for Sweetheart. Sweetheart has that, damage reduction built into her kit, which does work well with less effective healers like Decay, but also with Sotheby, whose healing is more intermittent. So this kind of gives a great chance for also Sotheby proccing the Blasphema of the Night, because poison is a negative stat. You could also sometimes force in Sweetheart into a Jessica team if you really just want to have Sweetheart as the 4th slot in a traditional poison team. It can work. It's not my favorite. It does feel like she's just being put in there for more damage. I prefer my Sweetheart to do a little bit more. So this is kind of Sweetheart in a team that's built around poison and built around neg stats. Now, Pecorn Bloom is there because Pecorn Bloom is amazing, and Pecorn Bloom can reduce reality defense, which also helps with Sotheby's damage. And also I've put in as the 4th slot, you could use Pickles, you could use any damage buffer, you could use Necrologist. For this I used Soneto, because she's free and everyone has her, and I think she does great damage as well if you really build into her. Basically, buff your team, debuff with Pecorn, and then have your buffer in the 4th slot, bring up everyone's damage overall. Now this team is kind of my original old school favorite team, which you can see on my other Sweetheart video. I really, really love the power trio of Bunny, Tenant, and Sweetheart. They are a near indestructible trio. And of course, Centurion is here because Centurion does excellent damage and doesn't need anyone to support her. She don't need no man, she just looks after herself, and she's fucking fierce. But the trio works so well because Bunny has neg stat with Nasty Wound, plus Tenant has the defense down, which for reality defense helps all of the characters, and then also the shielding really helps Bunny's kind of lackluster healing, or rather AP greedy healing. That's kind of the biggest issue with Bunny is that Bunny does excellent healing, but only through her ult. And in order for her to get to that ult as reliably as you want, you're going to have to be using her more than you would kind of want. That's where characters like Tenant can slip in, or other characters that offer us like a buffer to the sustain, I guess. Again, we're looking at ways to make Sweetheart shine. And of course, Centurion's here doing more damage, especially in harder content. But again, 3 characters are the focus here. The 4th character is the slot-in character that you can kind of use in bigger fights. Now, looking into our next team, we've got a bit of a hybrid team. This is I call this kind of like a crit team. Now, Sweetheart she can crit, but she's not built like a crit DPS usually. She can be, but this is kind of forcing her into it. And I think this quadrio, what is that word? I think that works so well, ironically. Tooth Fairy's Tooth Fairy, and she's amazing. And she's going to heal, and she's going to bring down the crit defense of your enemies. Then we've got Ezra, who is adorable and so strong. I mean, his buffs are insane. If you got him, I'm sure you're starting to understand that he seems like pretty meh at the start, but 40%, like his buffs are insane. And of course, Desert Flannel, who does really good damage and also is the primary buffer to Sweetheart in this team. Desert Flannel's going to buff her raw damage, or like her general damage percentage, and then we're also going to see the crit buffs from Sweetheart and from Ezra, which basically just turn Sweetheart into a powerhouse. Is this the best team? No, but it is a lot of fun to run. And honestly, you don't even need Tooth Fairy to be real. You could just use Desert Flannel and Sweetheart as a power duo with Ezra in there as well for crit. Now, moving into our last team for today, we're going to be looking at Sweetheart in a star team. Basically, we're going to be looking at Sweetheart kind of trying to proc Sweetheart with 37. Now, the reason I'm using 37 in this team, and also Desert Flannel again, as you can see, Desert Flannel and Sweetheart, honestly, power duo. Use them as much as you can. If you don't have Desert Flannel, you can use Blorny. You can use Bunny instead as a similar healer, or Decay as well. But I do want to just point out the wonderful synergy between particularly Sweetheart and Tenant, and Sweetheart and Desert Flannel. But yes, in this team, the idea is the repost or the follow-up attacks from Desert Flannel will help proc 37's follow-up attacks. You could just use 37, Desert Flannel, and Sweetheart in a team. You definitely could do that as the main 3, but in this I've put Ezra in there as well as extra shielding, it's a little bit of sustain, and also buffs to the entirety of the team. Ironically, this team worked better than I thought, and I wasn't originally going to include it in the video, but after I played around with it a bit, I had a lot of fun, and I thought I really just feel like the flexibility of Sweetheart is you could put her in with a star character, you could put her in to other teams, and because she's strong enough, she can just main DPS the shit out of it. And she also she brings her own, her kit is self-sustaining enough that you don't need to worry about where you put her. Wherever you put her, she will find use and find strength, even in a team with follow-up attacks when she has no follow-up attacks. That's the power of our Sweetheart. So yeah, I guess in summary, what did you guys think? I want to know your teams. I want to know who you run Sweetheart with. I really think that Sweetheart is such an underrated character. I feel like people don't really give her the respect that she deserves. Admittedly though, I understand there's a lot of beast characters. We're about to get Getian, and then we've, right out the gate at 1.1, we got Melania. Then we got Shimane. We're getting a lot, and then we got Spathadia. Of course, Spathadia and Sweetheart. Spathadia does oodles more damage than Sweetheart, but as a 5-star unit, Sweetheart is excellent. She can clear that Limbo 6. She can clear the harder content of the games. Check my channel, I've done it all. Don't sleep on Sweetheart, and I want to hear what you thought and who you want to see next and why it's Blonnie. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.